never thought it would happen to me. That's what everyone says, right? But when you're lonely, when you're tired of going to bed alone and waking up to silence, it's easy to believe in something, someone, that seems too good to be true. It started with a simple Facebook message from Max Watson. He introduced himself casually, mentioning that he had stumbled upon my profile and thought he'd say hello. At first, I almost ignored it. After all, who sends messages like that to strangers? But his profile picture caught my eye. A handsome man in his 30s, with kind eyes and a smile that felt genuine. Maybe it was the loneliness, or maybe I was just curious. So, I responded. Max was everything I had been missing in my life. He was attentive, always eager to know about my day, my work, and my dreams. He shared stories about his life in London, his job as an architect, his love for travel, and his plans to visit Asia soon. Day by day, our conversations grew longer and deeper, turning into a daily ritual that I started looking forward to. Our connection didn't just stay within the confines of text messages. Within a few weeks, we started having video calls. I remember our first call vividly. I was nervous, unsure if the person I had been talking to would be anything like the image I had built up in my mind. But when the screen flickered on and his face appeared, I felt my heart leap. There he was. Max, just as he had described himself, looking a little shy but smiling warmly. "Hey, there you are," he said, his British accent coming through clearly. We talked for hours that night. He made me laugh with his stories about quirky London neighbourhoods and his love for obscure indie films. He seemed genuinely interested in everything I said, asking questions about my life, my job, my family. It felt like I had known him forever. Our video calls became a regular thing. Sometimes he would be in his kitchen, cooking dinner while we chatted. Other times, he would be sitting at his desk, showing me the sketches he was working on for a new project. I found myself looking forward to these calls more than I had ever looked forward to anything. I would plan my evenings around them, making sure I looked my best, though he always insisted I didn't need to do anything special. There was a night I remember particularly well. He was in his living room, and he showed me his bookshelf, crammed with architecture books and travel guides. He picked up a book about Southeast Asia and said, almost shyly, that he couldn't wait to visit Malaysia, to see all the places we had talked about, Penang street food, Langkawi's beaches, and of course, Kuala Lumpur. It was in that moment that I realized just how much I wanted to see him, to be with him. When he told me he was booking his flight, I was over the moon. I couldn't believe it. After months of talking, he was actually coming. We started planning his trip together, deciding on all the things we would do, the places we would go. It felt so real, so tangible, like I was finally going to get the happy ending I had been dreaming of. As the day of his arrival approached, I couldn't contain my excitement. I prepared everything meticulously, cleaning my apartment until it sparkled, buying new clothes, and even booking a romantic dinner at a fancy restaurant. I imagined how it would feel to finally see him, to hug him, to have someone by my side who genuinely cared about me. But then, the day came, and there was no sign of Max. I waited at the airport for hours, my heart sinking with each passing minute. I called him repeatedly, but his phone went straight to voicemail. I tried to reassure myself that there might have been a flight delay or some problem at immigration. Just as my anxiety reached its peak, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar Malaysian number. When I answered, a man introduced himself as Officer Hafiz from Customs and Immigration. He said that my friend, Max Watson, had been detained for failing to declare the large sum of money he was bringing into the country. My heart froze. Max had mentioned bringing gifts for me, but money, it seemed unbelievable. I tried to explain that there must have been some mistake. Max would never do something like that. The officer, however, insisted that it was a serious issue. He said they couldn't release Max until the fine was paid. Max, he added, had asked him to call me. He put Max on the phone, and as soon as I heard his voice, I felt a surge of relief. Max sounded desperate and apologetic. He explained that he just wanted to surprise me and had no idea it would cause such trouble. He begged me to help him, to pay the fine so he could be released. His voice, filled with anxiety and remorse, tugged at my heart. This was the man I had spent months getting to know, the man who had promised to be there with me. I couldn't let him down. The officer mentioned the amount, 20,000 ringgit. It was a hefty sum, all I had in my savings. I hesitated for a moment. Could this be a scam? I asked myself, but I brushed it off. I was being paranoid, I told myself. This was Max. I trusted him. I loved him. Without hesitation, I agreed to transfer the money, believing that once he was out, everything would be all right. After making the transfer, I waited, my heart pounding. Max had thanked me profusely, promising that he would make it up to me as soon as he was free. He said he couldn't wait to see me. But hours turned into days, and my messages went unanswered. His Facebook account disappeared, and his phone was disconnected. I was left alone, staring at the empty apartment I had cleaned for him, the dinner reservations I had made, and the shattered pieces of a dream I had believed in. When I reported the incident to the police, they confirmed my worst fear. Max Watson didn't exist. He was a ghost, a mirage that had vanished, taking with him my savings and my trust. As I sat in my darkened living room, staring at the transfer receipt, the reality of what had happened crashed over me like a wave. I had been scammed, not just out of money, but out of hope, out of the belief that someone, somewhere, could care about me. If you're listening to this, please, be careful. It's easy to judge, to think you're too smart, too cautious to fall for a scam like this. But when you're lonely, when you're searching for something real, it's easy to believe in a voice on the other end of the line, to trust a face on a screen. Max Watson was everything I wanted, but he was also nothing more than a name, a lie, and a painful lesson that I had to learn the hard way. Don't let your hope blind you, because sometimes the cost of believing can be more than you can bear.